What is your worst experience? When I was 20. I had a long-distance girlfriend, and when she was in town, we would really go at it. Yeah, no. Releasing a couple months of pent-up frustration in a couple days. I got into a weird position. And it was straining something in me. I just didn't know what. I'm about to switch. But then I noticed she was responding really well. So I said to myself, man, I'll just suck it up, and went for it for a while till she got hers. We both finished and I thought all was good. She left. And a week later I noticed a bulge forming just above my fearing the worst. Or some such nonsense. I went and saw a doctor. Yep. Got a hernia. Had to get surgery. TLDR. Great. Very expensive. 7/10. My current girlfriend rubbed some muscle cream on my legs after a bit of sport. She then started to go down on me, forgetting to wash her hands after the cream. I started to feel a little hot and cold sensation, which ended up in scorching pain for about 30 minutes. We laugh about it today, but in the heat of the moment, it was the worst thing ever. It's not mine, but I had a boyfriend when I was 19 and they had a very small apartment. His mom was sleeping in the middle room and you had to go through that to get to his room. One night I slept over and I really needed to pee around 5 a.m. I got up, opened the door, went in and saw his mom peeping with a dude. I panicked and instead going back to my BF's room, I ran into the bathroom. I don't know how long I was there for, but I remember them saying she's never gonna come out. I eventually did. Apologized like 500 times, and even though it was 11 years ago, I'm still embarrassed and I still have certain images in my head. This was about 5 or 6 years ago. First time doing the deed with a new GF. She stops halfway through and runs to the bathroom. Doesn't come back after like 10 minutes, and then I hear her calling for me, telling me not to come in but asking if I can go get some Depends for her from CVS. Okay. Go. Come back. Hand them to her without looking into the bathroom. 5 minutes later she tells me she has lost a lot of blood and asks if I can drive her to the hospital. The closest one being the hospital she works at as a nurse. We get there. Sign into the reception desk of the ER. While waiting to be seen by the triage nurse, she starts to pass out on my shoulder from blood loss. They finally see us and the triage nurse asks her directly in front of me in the triage room if this is the product of domestic abuse. She says no, thankfully. Then they take her to the back and the doctors find a tear that has been causing all of the bleeding. They let her go. And I take her home. It's now like 2 a.m. and I've been riding this roller coaster for about 6 hours. I will never forget that experience. Scared the speep out of me on multiple levels. He stops mid-thrust and says, I know this is a bad time to say this, but I think we should just be friends. Having with a girl at a house party who bled over both of us. But because it was dark, neither of us realized. We proceeded to walk into a house party full of people with blood over our clothes and hands. I was with a girl who had no emotion at all. No moaning. No heavy breathing. Nothing. She just kind of laid there staring at me. She wanted to be on top at one point and I thought, oh, maybe she's just more into that. Nope. She just kind there. Again. Blankly staring at me. No movement at all. I asked her afterwards if everything was fine and she went, holy speep, it was amazing. I was so flipping confused. Very romantic jacuzzi tub setting with music and candles. She's sitting on top facing the same way as me. Leans back to kiss me. And her hair catches fire from the candles behind us. Luckily it was put out quickly, but the smell and cleanup was the worst. One time I accidentally tore one of my ex's piercings out when it got caught in the sheet. She cried and there was a lot of blood. Totally an accident, but a speepty one for sure. Slept for the first time with a guy I've been seeing for 2 months. He was done in under 2 minutes and wanted to go to sleep. I was like, okay. And turned sideways to face the wall. He spooned me and cupped my right breast from behind and said, "This is how I sleep with my mom." And that's where I stopped scrolling. Good night, Reddit. Never change. So my ex and I early/mid-20s decided to have a quickie before work. Well, we were fighting the clock, so there wasn't much foreplay. He peeped me from behind on the bed. We finish and then all I hear is this horrified scream. I look and see blood all over the sheets. My immediate thought was, oh beep, that's a heavy and unexpected period. Then I see him holding his blood literally spurting through hands. Turns out he ripped his frenulum. Foreplay is important, friends. I threw the condom over my shoulder in preparation for round 2 because I got a second wind. While I'm busy doing the deed, I hear an awful gagging/choking sound behind me. The cat was choking on the discarded condom. Semen and all. My girlfriend's mum bursts in the room thinking someone is dying. You can imagine how the rest plays out. GG. Hooked up with my best friend's brother-in-law in my other friend's car during a birthday party. Bit my lip so hard that it bruised. Took his pants off and he revealed that he had a micropenis and erectile dysfunction but still wanted to continue. After multiple failed attempts to get things going, he started having a deep conversation with me, who he just met about 2 hours prior, about how he was leaving for basic training in 2 days and was worried about dying in Afghanistan. Friend who loaned me the car ended up coming outside to tell us he needed it back to go for a beer run, and he saw me completely naked and this dude with his head in his hands drunkenly crying about how he felt like his recruitment officer lied to him about all the great things that joining the army would do for his life. I was with a guy who kept smelling my armpits despite me telling him clearly that I wasn't into that, and who came in less than 10 seconds. Which was worse, the armpit sniffing or how fast he came? I went down. She came. She climbed on. She started sobbing. I'm still inside her. Her involuntary spasms from crying are getting me closer to the edge while she's telling me that she's never gotten off with a guy before and her boyfriend is gonna be so mad she told me they broke up. I then had the least sexy orgasm ever because of the sobbing vibrations. Somehow the condom broke. Pregnancy scare. Ladies and gentlemen, my first time. I once had a guy just from out of nowhere spit straight into my mouth. Like a big ol wad of warm saliva. I had no problem swallowing his cum lol, but for some reason I found that just kind of disgusting. I guess the surprise factor didn't help. At the start of our relationship, right before our first time together, my boyfriend groped one of my stomach rolls thinking it was a boob and asked me when I took my bra off. I was still wearing it lol. It was mortifying in the moment for the both of us. But now kind of hilarious to look back on. Met a girl at a party. We hit it off and went on a few dates. She came over to watch some movies and we eventually moved into the bedroom. She wanted the lights off. And just lay there like a body pillow. She literally did nothing but still sweat as if we were doing P90X in an attic during the peak of summer in the Florida heat without an air conditioner. Then after 15 minutes of this she freaked out and said that she has to be a good Christian and couldn't go through with it and bailed. So I was blue-balled by Jesus mid-tummy slap and had to clean my sheets because they were soaking wet in the middle of the night. Cheers. I hooked up with a girl while going through bad depression and I cried on top of her when I couldn't get a boner. I was abused by a babysitter as a child, so I couldn't even get hard for my first BJ at 15. Girl dumped me the next day and I'm sure told the story to a few people. Pretty embarrassing. A was going down on a girl she was enjoying so much she slid off the Cali King bed and caught her head on the sharp corner of her bedstand. It sliced her head open as she fell off. I came over the edge of the bed to see WRF happened and a pool of blood was forming around her head and I was in shock and assumed she died. It might have been seconds but it felt like months because officer I was just engaging in oral. Yeah, know what, I don't believe me either, let's just go to jail, I'm peeped. Just kinds kept going though my head. She finally twitched and I realized she wasn't dead. EMT called. Mess. My clothes were bloody. Which certainly scarred my roommates who knew I was out to get some. And I came home covered in blood. B was on a date. And was going good. As night went on she had gotten a cough but she told me it was just some tickle in her throat from the dinner we had. Anyway. We're getting necked and she starts a coughing fit as we start. Suddenly she's coughing up blood and saying she can't breathe. Apparently she was given incorrect meds and she was having a slow reaction to them. Anyway, rushed to hospital, she was in ICU for 2 days. She at least now has quite a nice place due to settlements. Take your pick. To quote my used to be atheist roommate, your dating life is so bad it proves there is a God. And that God hates you.